Welcome to another episode of Records of Origin. My name is Space Cadet, and I'm here with...
Sajni, hi.
And we're here with Joe Delon.
Delon.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Let's dive in. Or do you have any questions to begin with? Or
Yeah. I mean, the format we're still getting used to, but essentially we're going to start with your journey through music, your origin story. So let's go there.
Yeah, we've only got an hour. I mean,
Yeah.
you get me talking about my origin story in music. We could be here for days.
Can I just start with like one of the things I love about Joe, and one of the reasons I really wanted to interview him is he sends out this weekly newsletter that goes into like depth and detail far beyond what I've seen anywhere. And so, yeah, it'll be great to hear your story, but we've only got an hour.
Right, yeah. Depth and detail about myself, because that's my favorite topic. So. I kind of saw this invitation as a extension of that newsletter, because the whole point is I just talk about myself and I talk about my relationship with music. And I actually started writing a newsletter when I was 20 years old. So when I moved to London first. And so I was doing that for 5 years maybe in London. And then I stopped for 10 years, almost 10 years. And then when COVID happened, I had quit my job to focus on music, and then obviously couldn't do any music. So that's when I started writing again. And yeah, I've been writing that now for another 6 years. So, but yeah, I mean, the structure for this, like I put together a playlist that goes back a lot further than that. So
Yeah.
we're going to be listening to some childhood bangers.
nice. Yeah, let's start all the way at the beginning, like with your first music listen experience, or like, and how it grew from there.
So my parents pretty much only listened to classical music, or my dad only listens to classical music, and my mum, when she was younger, used to listen to non-classical music, but I don't remember as a child. I mean, the only thing I really remember her listening to that wasn't classical was like 50s stuff. She used to I'm from Birmingham in England. She used to take us to this American style diner every so often, which would had like a little jukebox on the table. So, you know, like Chuck Berry or the Flirtations or whatever. So I knew that music. But yeah, the first music that I remember consciously listening to for myself and seeking out would have been either the Venga Boys or M People. And probably M People, because I think M People, you know, obviously M People came first. So I think they were I was more conscious of them first. And I remember in Bearwood, which is the neighborhood I lived in Birmingham, there was a record shop that sold actual records, but I was starting to buy tapes, like cassettes, because I had a Walkman. And I remember M People cassettes. I had the collection. So
What time was that? Like, just to have an image?
probably when I was around 10 or 11, I imagine. I actually brought you can see it here.
Oh, no,
hold it
34.
up. So, yeah, so this is now That's What I Call Music 34 on cassette. And these cassettes, this series was like completely formative for me.
And what time period was that? Like,
So I was born in 1986. So this cassette I think came out in 1997. Wannabe Spice Girls is like track
I had
number
this one.
Right.
I had this exact. Like,
For people of a certain generation,
Yes.
this compilation is like, this was the top of the top. And what I loved about this series, the Now series, it might still be going, no idea. What I loved about it was that over the 4 sides of the 2 cassettes, you would get a real variety, but there would always be one side which was just really banging dance music. And if you're a kid, I don't know, all kids like repetitive music, right? So I would listen to some of the like dance stuff on there and love it without really realizing that it was like club music.
I can affirm that my 6-year-old son loves the Venga Boys.
Right. So yeah, I had We Like to Party on cassette. I had M People on cassette. I mean, maybe I can play.
Yeah.
I wanted to just play part of One Night in Heaven by M People, just because this is the kind of music that I love now. And when I was 10, I had no idea any of the references. Like M People came out of the Hacienda in Manchester, right? Like Mike Pickering. And back then, I just loved Heather Small, and I thought it was fun music. So I'll play we'll play a clip of that.
one night in heaven. One night in heaven, one night in heaven. One night in heaven, one night in heaven. One night in heaven, one night in heaven.
Nice, thanks. Yeah, we'll share the whole playlist with everything that we're playing today later as well, so that everyone can have a listen back to it.
Cool.
This was a bit too short, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, if you listen to that track, like there are elements of that track which like define what I like about dance music today. And yeah, I was listening to it back then. But I was also listening to like, you know, pop music and Spice Girls, and you know, the second track on that compilation on Now 34 is Peter Andre, Mysterious Girl, and I'm obsessed with that. So.
Nice.
So yeah, that was how many years ago? 30 years ago now, because I'm turning 40 this year. So
Me too.
Can you believe that Wannabe by the Spice Girls is 30 years old? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Cool.
So move on to the next one. So yeah, I wanted to shout out my sister, because probably between the ages of 10 and 14, 15, my sister was probably the main influence on my music taste. She's a bit older than me. She's 2.5 years older than me. And she was listening to Alanis Morissette and The Cause and whatever, but she was also starting to listen to more interesting music. Not that I don't love Alanis, I do. But yeah, I brought New Eureka Soul.
Oh, nice.
The album's called the album's called New Eureka Soul. You know, the hit was I'm the Black Gold of the Sun. It's essentially Masters at Work under an alias. And I remember my sister listening to this album, and I brought the track It's Alright, I Feel It.
Nice.
Mainly because it's a track that I play today as well. So again, like I was listening to this when I was 13 or 14 years old, and like when I played at Panorama Bar 4 years ago, I played that record because it was like meaningful to me for such a long time, and it's also an incredible tune. And back then, what's interesting, I would have been listening to the CD version, which is like 3 minutes long, but the full Masters at Work 12-inch version, I don't know if you've heard it, is just this insane like 9-minute odyssey. It has this huge like breakdown in the middle that's just no beat. It's just, you know, the voice and the orchestration, and it's just beautiful. So
Yeah, I haven't heard that one, but I've heard the vinyl version of Black Gold of the Sun, and it's like one of those timeless tracks that you just fall into the layer after layer.
Yeah. I mean, this whole album is just hit after hit. Like the version of Runaway on here, I also play the original of Runaway a lot these days. Sweet Tears I have on 12-inch as well. Yeah, a real classic. And I have my sister to thank for that. And she I remember when she started going on work experience, for example, she went to France for a few months. She started making friends who would also give her like mixtapes or suggestions, and then those would filter through to me. And I just saw her a couple of weeks ago in New York, and we were reminiscing about one of those mixtapes and the tracks on there that we still listen to today.
And she would go out and buy a lot of music as well?
She was buying some music, yeah, but I have to say probably I was the one who started buying a lot more music. Like these are the days, you know, there was the record shop in Bearwood, but I started going into town then, and I would go to HMV. And HMV would always have like an offer on CDs, buy 4 and you get a 5th one free or whatever. I was also a member, this is really dating me, but like there used to be like catalog like membership things that you could send off for CDs, and if you remember, then it would end up being a little bit cheaper over time. So I would get these CDs through the post.
I remember that.
And some of these CDs, like I don't know, actually maybe the next one is one that I got through one of those programs, or maybe I just got this at HMV. But yeah, I'm just going to play a flash of Masters at Work, New Eureka Soul.
Put me through, but it's all right.
Yeah, very nice. I think last show we had New York and Soul as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think that was pretty, again,
Makes
for a
sense.
certain generation, pretty formative. And like the singers, like Jocelyn Brown on that one. I remember seeing Jocelyn Brown performing at the Brockwell Park like summer fair when I was living in London. And again, that was like a full circle moment of this voice that I recognized, iconic voice, and then seeing her perform. One CD that I actually wish I could have brought in this stack, but I clearly got rid of it at some point along the way because I was embarrassed about it. But I did want to play a section of this tune. Was one of my favorite CDs of this era was Enrique Iglesias. Escape.
Nice one. Nice one.
I was obsessed with Enrique Iglesias, and I have not listened to Enrique Iglesias for probably about 15 years.
Do you want to just have a listen to it quickly?
Let's just.
I think it's one of those tracks that you're like, yeah, this is very cheesy, but maybe it's very, very well produced.
It is incredibly well produced, and also when I remembered it yesterday and I went back to listen to it, I think Enrique Iglesias invented the dubstep breakdown.
Ooh.
Because this is 2001. This is when I was 15, right? And 14, 15. And yeah, the second verse of Escape by Enrique Iglesias is essentially dubstep. So
okay, let's have a listen. Are you prepared?
yeah.
That made everyone chuckle and laugh.
Don't know if you're convinced. That's also an excellent karaoke song. If there's any karaoke fans out there,
Yeah.
I can remember that.
I mean, maybe
that
one day this will turn into a karaoke show.
You'll have to have me back if
Yeah,
it does.
exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, yeah, I brought that mainly because I've always listened to pop music, and even if over the years I started listening to just more dance music or more supposedly cool music, maybe I put down Enrique Iglesias for like 15 years, but pop music has always been there. And I still think that pop music is like one of the main influences on the music that I play today.
Who are the pop stars that are influencing you today?
Well, this is the thing. Unfortunately, I'm going to date myself again. It's not that I'm listening to too much pop music these days. It's like the pop music that I listened to when I was a kid, and when I was a teenager.
Nice.
Yeah. It's the formative years that
Exactly.
you keep listening to,
But some of those people are still going. So like,
for sure.
Robin, for example, Robin's back.
Yeah,
Well, at least she never really went away. And like, I was listening to her in my teens because she was kind of in with the cool like Pitchfork, like hipster music back then. Her and Annie and people like that. And now she's just a full blown like megastar. But I haven't actually listened to the new album yet.
I digress, but it reminds me of like seeing Marcel Dertman and Ben Klock do an 8-hour set and just dropping in Radiohead at the end, like Idiotech.
Oh, well,
go
funny
crazy.
you should mention that.
Oh, okay.
Are we gonna move on to that straight away? Maybe.
No, let's not skip ahead.
Well, let me think. Well, I did bring Kid A,
Oh,
and I brought not only Kid A, but I brought the special book edition of the CD release because I wanted to like get the message across of how much of a Radiohead fanatic I was for a few years in my teens.
yeah, let's go then.
And I guess what happened was that at a certain point I decided that all of this like pop music and like fun bouncy house music was a bit too unserious, maybe a bit too gay. And I was like, I went to an all-boys school. I was gay. I went to an all-boys school and I was like, ooh, like maybe I should be listening to serious, sad, like indie music. I also liked it. Like it's not all about that, but I think there was an element of that. And I got so into Radiohead that I basically bought everything that I could. We're talking now, Kid A came out in 2000, Amnesiac came out in 2001, and I think probably this is like 2002, 3. I was in sixth form at that point, so like 16, 17. And yeah, I went to see them play in Victoria Park. Like I was downloading had become a thing by this point, like pirating music. I was downloading all of the live recordings of Radiohead from, I was a bit of a completist, I guess. And so, yeah, actually, one of the choices I have, I was going to bring Idiotech because obviously that's like the most dance like adjacent, I guess. And yeah, I know that like DJs will drop that one. And then I was like, no, I'm going to bring a different one. So I just brought everything in its right place.
Cool.
So we can have a flash of that.
Yeah, it's really too bad that we have to turn this off. Because, yeah, go listen wherever you can. This
Yeah,
stuff's
even if
amazing.
you're a mega fan, go back to it because, you know, I actually, every year there comes a period where I'm not touring and I'm at home a bit more, and for whatever reason the mood takes me, and I will return to Radiohead, to Block Party, to another one I brought, which I'm probably not going to play, but I've got the CD here. This is the Dismemberment Plan. They were like darlings of Pitchfork magazine, and I was basically, my music taste in my teens around this Radiohead phase was basically determined by
Oh,
Pitchfork.
I'm curious. I'd love to hear a bit.
All right, yeah, of this one.
Yeah, have you got it?
Okay, yeah. So Dismemberment Plan, this album famously got a 10 out of 10 on Pitchfork magazine. And being like a teenager, wanting to be cool and wanting to like, yeah, know the best of the best. And also I really like numbers, so anything with a rating system was like really cool. I was like, oh, I'll listen to this, and it struck a chord. Even though lots of their music is kind of talking about a life very far removed from like me in Birmingham. The track I brought is called The City. And I remember this is something that I remember pirating this using Audio Galaxy, which was one of the early like ways of downloading MP3s. So yeah, it's The City by the Dismemberment Plan.
And over the iridescent grid, well, up and away from the bar fights and neon lights, and out and away from everything that makes me what I am. So I'm not unsympathetic. I see why you're left. There's no one to know. There's nothing to do. The city's been dead since you've been gone.
Can't do
Yeah,
more.
we're gonna get flagged for this because, like, I don't know, it's a tricky thing to balance. I guess we'll see. Like, I want to show it to the people as well. So that's
Okay, yeah.
That's
I
more
mean,
important.
I feel like Enrique Iglesias is probably the most famous thing that we might
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely had my emo phase. But I guess, yeah, I was reflecting, and while I was having this emo phase, and really, I, you know, dropped a kind of electronic music completely. Not that I can even say that when I was listening to the Venga Boys, I wasn't thinking of it as like, oh, I'm listening to electronic music. I was just like, this is just fun, right? It was only after I'd gone through my indie phase and then gradually started going back towards more electronic produced stuff that I started to think explicitly, oh, I'm listening to this because it's made with synthesizers and computers, and it affords possibilities that go beyond just a band with with guitars.
How old were you when you're having your emo phase?
Yeah, probably like lower sixth, upper sixth.
So that's like what,
16,
18,
16, 17.
17,
I
yeah.
was young for my year. Like I'm an
okay.
August baby.
Not surprised, yeah.
So when I when I went to uni, I was like just 18 in like 2 weeks.
Were you playing with music, or were you playing for people already by then, or like doing anything of that
No.
sort?
Like DJing didn't come till quite a bit later. I was in an orchestra. I did percussion like as a teenager, so I was like playing the kettle drums and xylophone and stuff like that at school. So yeah, I mean, I was musical. Like I played piano at home, but I wasn't engaged in any like. I didn't join any bands or anything. I was I'm quite shy, so I think I would go to gigs occasionally back then. Like I had a ska phase. I had some friends who were like super into ska, which now I just can't even listen to.
It's very chaotic.
Yeah, and like we do the dance and everything. I was into new metal. Just whatever 16-year-olds were kind of into. And Birmingham, the thing about Birmingham is that, for those who don't know, Birmingham is essentially the second biggest city in the UK. It's like similar size to Manchester, if not slightly bigger, but it has much less of like a cultural history to it. And I can't necessarily explain that, but like, Duran Duran were from Birmingham. Ozzy Osbourne's from Birmingham. So in certain like metal, it has a very strong lineage. But if you ask foreigners to name a city in the UK, Birmingham's going to come so far down on the list. And when I was growing up, there just wasn't much of a music scene. It had a big techno moment in the 90s with House of God. And then Sandwell District is from Birmingham. I'm from Sandwell, which is like,
Nice.
grew up on the border between Birmingham and Sandwell. But it just nightlife died. So if there was like dance music going on when I was leaving school, I couldn't tell you about it.
And why did the nightlife die?
I mean, I don't want to put it down to one thing. This is just one factor, but the fact is that nightlife in Birmingham has always had a violent crime problem. And there's like more than 2 or 3 DJs that I know who have played in Birmingham and something has happened like at the party, someone's been stabbed or whatever, or shot even. And I think that's a particular issue in Birmingham.
Okay.
And that obviously is not going to do wonders for a nightlife scene. And there must be other like commercial reasons. There must be, I don't know whether there's been licensing issues over the year, but Birmingham's also not like the only city where that's happened. There, imagine Alcantara in Lisbon, right? Like Alcantara back in the 90s was just like this techno explosion. You've had Maria and João on this show, right? Talking about that. And the film Paraíso shows how that area was just like booming. And then, I guess people's tastes move on, the city changes, the venues change, people's appetite changes. And now, unfortunately, I think that Birmingham still has a really very limited scene.
That's why you moved to Lisbon, or?
Well, no. So I finished school. I was still listening to this kind of slightly mopey indie stuff. And then I sort of gradually started listening to more electronic stuff, probably because of the Pitchfork influence, and also because some of these bands like Radiohead, were using electronics in their music. And so, I mean, Kid A and Amnesiac probably helped push me a little bit in that direction. And then I went to university, and that's when I really started listening to more of electronic music. And I was gonna to try and kind of tell that story, because I feel like there are it's not just like from one day to the next. There are 3 here. Yeah, so the first one maybe is Richard X. I don't know if you remember Richard X.
I don't.
He's like he was like a producer of pop music. This is his own album, but it's got many features on it. So it has the Sugar Babes on there. It has Liberty X. He was famous for doing mashups.
Nice.
So he did the original of he did the mashup of Freak Like Me, which is the Sugar Babes versus, it's the Sugar Babes singing Adina Howard.
Nice.
Over Gary Newman, or over Tuboyami. And he became famous. This is like the early 2000s for this kind of mashup thing. And the one I was going to play is one from, I think it's 2004, which is the year that I left school and went to university. And that's Khalees, Finest Dreams, which is a mashup of The Finest by SOS Band, like a boogie track from the 80s.
This track.
over the top of the Human League, the things that dreams are made of, like the instrumental, and it's like a match made in heaven.
Hear it.
A better love will never come my way. After all that we've been through, time won't change the way I feel about you. Out of all the love before, you're the finest I'll ever know. After all that we've been through, time won't change the way I feel about you. Out of all the love before.
Karaoke moment.
Karaoke moment. Yeah, and I mean, what's great about that is that it's the original of the Human League, which I think is 1984. The SOS band is a similar time, maybe slightly earlier, 83, 82. But then Richard X, who's one of the best like pop music producers of the last 20, 25 years, he's like beefed out the production so that it's really like a pop hit. You know, this was in the top 10 in the UK. And it's that kind of convergence of eras and sounds into something fresh, which I was really excited about then, and I'm still really excited about now. And I would still play this regularly for that reason. And I'll play the original of the Human League, and I'll play the original of the SOS band. So yeah, that was like that's one thing. The next one is Goldfrapp from Black Cherry, which I think is just to illustrate how a band can go from like their first album, Felt Mountain. It had some electronic stuff in it, but it was mostly, I think, like non-electronic, and it was very kind of calm and like even a bit eerie. And then with this album, they just went full like synth pop, like vamp. And yeah, I was going to play Crystalline Green because it's the first track and it really sets the tone, and maybe people don't know it so well. People know Train, people know Strict Machine, but Crystalline Green, yeah.
Who you are now? Scared of space, what you say?
Cool.
Yeah, so that's like this transition from kind of indie back to more electronic things. And then, yeah, I'm kind of, I guess by this point I'm at university in first, second year. I wouldn't say I was necessarily DJing at this point, but I did have a cracked copy of Ableton that I could do like kind of fake DJ sets on, just like triggering things. And I didn't really have much of an outlet for that apart from the occasional college party I would DJ at, and I would really do this sort of mashup, blog house, indie remixes type thing, and that's the kind of parties that I was going to as well. I suppose that was the beginning of trying to DJ, but it wasn't really until I left university and moved to London that I really like started investigating DJing properly. But maybe just to like get there, I did just want to play one track off this Isolé album, We Are Monster, which again was from my Pitchfork reading. This is how I found out about this. And this track called Shrapnel, which at the time I didn't really get. It was probably one of the tracks that I liked the least on the album. But now when I look back, it's probably the one that I like the most. And it's also basically disco music. It's like a very austere, like German. I don't know if he's austere. I've not actually met him, but he's bold. You know, he's got this look about him. German producer making essentially like quite camp disco music, but in an electronic format. And for that reason, I think it's quite interesting.
And what changed from like when you didn't get it to getting it?
I got into disco music. Like at the time, I wasn't listening to disco. Like we listened to Jocelyn Brown earlier on New Rican Soul, but then through my whole of my late teens, I wasn't listening to disco at all. It just didn't even figure. And then I listened to this, and then I'll get onto it. But when I moved to London and started getting into DJing, and then I discovered disco music. And I think you need to have an appreciation of disco to understand what this track is doing fully. You can still like it, obviously, but I think that's what he was trying to do in a funny way, is make a disco track.
Making me super curious. Very cool track. Thanks.
Yeah, I was just saying off the mic that like the drums to me sound straight out of an Arthur Russell tune, or any kind of grooving 1979 disco track. There's like a thing about disco beats that they're playing slightly behind the beat constantly to give it that like movement, and I think that's what he was investigating with that track. So yeah, I moved to London after graduating. I started going out to Fabric a lot, like not every weekend, but every other weekend, and to other venues like Corsica Studios.
That's closing at the end of next month.
I know, it's very sad, and I'm going to the UK next month, but I'm not sure I'm going to get an opportunity to visit it one last time.
I'm going to try and go to the final party.
Oh yeah, that would be great. I have a very strong memory of, I don't know whether I'm allowed to say this, so I'm going to try and keep it like child friendly, but I have a very strong memory of going to the bathrooms in Corsica Studio, not to use the bathroom.
Sunday morning vibe.
Yeah, the first time that I went there, I think it was like a new disco night. So it was like, do you remember a band called Aeroplane? Like new disco? Yeah. And this is back, I didn't have a smartphone back then. This is in 2007. I was a late adopter. And so I had, I wasn't using a phone. I had an A to Z like map.
I remember that.
For doing what I needed to do in the bathroom.
and navigating as well.
Yeah, and navigating, yeah. So yeah, I like, as soon as I moved to London, basically, that's when I started clubbing properly, I would call it. And me and my best friend, Gwennon, who I'd been at university with, well, she was the first one to buy turntables. She was living in Oxford, and I used to go most weekends when I wasn't at Fabric to Oxford to learn how to DJ. Basically, we would do house parties and practice playing records, and I was buying records at this point off Discogs, and yeah, getting into it. I would say between September 2007, which is when I moved to London, until the end of 2008, it was like I was listening to a lot of minimal techno. This is the era of like Minus at its late peak. Yeah, I've got Villa Lobos here, the Fabric 36 mix. That was maybe a year later. I've got Richie Houghton closer to the edit. I didn't actually bring any clips of those two. It was more just to show the camera.
For the eagle-eyed viewers.
Yeah. Richie Houghton especially. Like, I remember going to the Minus, I think it was the 10th anniversary party. And, you know, most fans of Richie Houghton then and now would say by that point he'd already slightly jumped the shark. Like, his real, like, the real good stuff was in the 90s, and there are recordings of him playing in Detroit, and just like, you know, really good but heavy techno. And then this whole minimal techno thing was like a bit of a fad for a few years, but that was my entry point. That's when I discovered clubbing. So for me, it was like the world. And I remember we went to see, I think it was the 10th birthday in Fabric, Room 1. It was Richie Hawtin and Magda. Were you there? Right, Sajni was there. We were there. We didn't know each other, but we were there. You couldn't move. Like, it was so busy. And yeah, by this point, I guess we were taking drugs. So we were going to Fabric and getting high and listening to this crazy music that we'd never heard before. And I wanted to play one track that they played that night. Both Richie Hawtin and Magda played it. And I wanted to play it because it's not what they were making. Like, this is not what they were putting out on Minus. It was a kind of music that I had never heard before. Although if we think back to M People, like I kind of had heard it before, but like tangentially. Basically, both of them played this one track by Virgo, who are a Chicago, like Chicago house group in the mid 80s, 1986. I think this came out the year I was born. Both of them played this track, and it blew our minds. Like, literally never heard anything like it before. And I remember the days afterwards being on the RA thread, because back then they had comments on RA, and being on the thread and being like, what was this crazy music that they played? And then all these older, like, more seasoned heads being like, oh my God, of course it's like Virgo, the Tracks Records, like. You know, it's like
fun of the kids.
Yeah, it's like the equivalent of playing Madonna or something. Like, come on. And we were just like,
awesome. Like, let's see if we can get some minds to blow as well now. Wow, that's from '86. It's mind blowing.
yeah, I mean,
really far ahead.
Yeah, those early Tracks Records releases are just like incredible, and like the creativity with limited means, the musicality, the bass line on that. I think really it was the bass line, because obviously in the intervening 20 years, people had made all kinds of bass lines, and you know, the production quality had like improved drastically, but that bass line has like a certain substance to it, like a body to it, which I don't think has been improved on since then. And to hear that in Fabric Room 1, which obviously has one of the best sound systems in the world, I can't vouch for it now because I haven't actually been since 2012 was perhaps the last time I went, 2013. But yeah, at the time, like, I think it's important to mention that as well, like having access to a sound system like that. If you're into music already a little bit and then you start to hear it on a sound system like that, it's just going to make you more into music. Like, I can't imagine someone would be like, oh, that's nice, and then just move on with their lives, because it's like, yeah.
Can I skip to the now, and like, where are the places that you find that kind of sound system quality today?
I mean, I've been lucky that I've played on some nice sound systems. Like New York actually at the moment is not just for sound systems, but in general is popping off for clubs. And I just played a couple of weeks ago in a club called Signal, which has a really, really nice sound system and a really good setup for playing as well.
What's the setup, or what's so interesting about the setup?
Well, they just have a very solid setup for vinyl, which, I mean, this is a cliche, but it's still quite rare to find a really good vinyl setup in a club. And they're like, everything is really firmly isolated. The monitoring is super good. And what I like about being in a room is that it doesn't need to be too loud, and you can still feel involved with it. It's not a 4-point. It would be better if it was a 4-point system, but it's still really great. The thing about Fabric was that it was so immersive. And they also had that special floor that like
vibrated,
vibrated with the
yeah.
bass, so you could
wow.
feel it through. Like,
There's a Tomorrow's World episode about the floor,
are you serious?
Yeah.
My God, is it on YouTube?
probably.
I need to find that. I was a big fan of Tomorrow's
Yeah,
World.
I imagine.
My dad taught Carol Vorderman
No.
at university. Yeah,
Nice.
she was one of his students. Anyway, where else? Clubs in Asia, like East Asia, usually have really, really good sound systems. So unfortunately, it's closed now. But I played at a club called Loopy in Hangzhou, which was in a shopping center, which doesn't give you the great expectations. But they had basically built like a box inside a room, and obviously that's the best solution for a club. And that sounded amazing. Obviously, the club that I'd like to visit, which I haven't made it to yet, is Open Ground in Wuppertal. That's the one that people are saying is like the best sound system on the planet.
In Wuppertal, of all places.
Exactly, yeah. you really have to make an effort to get there, but apparently it's worth it. Maybe I can talk a bit now about one of my main influences, who I don't ever get tired of talking about, which is Prosumer, who's a DJ from Saarbrücken, who lived in Berlin for many years, working at Hardwax and playing. He was a resident at Panorama Bar, and then he moved to Edinburgh. And he told me that when he played at Open Ground the first time, he cried because some of the records that he played, which he's been playing for 30 years, sounded so magical to him.
Oh wow!
Right, and
yeah, I mean, yeah, as a DJ, you had that experience where you play on a sound system, and you're like, wait, what's the difference? Like, why are these tracks? I've never heard the definition or like,
or
things
even
popping
sounds
up.
that you never noticed before. Yeah. And this coming Saturday, sorry, maybe I can plug it. I'm playing at a venue called Hope House in Leeds, which has a custom sound system, which has a very high reputation in the UK. So I'm really excited to hear what that sounds like.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'm taking a bag of records.
Yeah, you're gonna like pick your records based on the quality of the sound system.
I'm taking records that I want to hear on a really good sound system, basically. Yeah. There's like a few.
What's the date of that?
It's this coming Saturday, 28th of February. Yeah, it's for a party called Pleasure Max, and I'm playing all night. So
shit, that's yeah.
So it's like a real luxury, basically. Like I've got a chance to play whatever I want, essentially. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Nice. I can imagine. It's like a nice opportunity to listen to really good music.
And
for
some
our fans in Leeds.
Yeah, some of the records are a bit beaten up, but I don't care because I just want to hear the detail and the production. So yeah, but yeah, to go back to Prosumer, maybe the next track I was going to play is one that the first time I went to see him play in London, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. And he played this track, which again is from Trax Records. I think it might be 1987. It's an On the House production. It's called Let's Get Busy. And again, it's just a testament to the power of few elements done really well and with a lot of personality. Yeah, I mean, it's got the classic, move your body kind of stabs. But I just love the flanging on the highs on that and the drum rushes. Like something I really look for in music today, and it was invented 30 years ago. and it hasn't lost any of its impact for me. And yeah, Prosumer, like for 2 or 3 years in London, I would go and see him every time he played, and introduced me to so many amazing house records. Basically, this was me rediscovering house music after having put it down for like 12 years inexplicably. And then I came back to it, and then that's been pretty much it since then. Like that's been my kind of number one love when it comes to dance music. And I actually, I very luckily got to know Akim a little bit, and then played at his party in Edinburgh. He does a party called Heyday at Sneaky Pete's, which is like a tiny, I think it's like 100 capacity venue in the Cowgate area of Edinburgh. And that was like one of the greatest privileges of my my DJ life, was to be able to play at his party, because I'd learned so much from him over the years. Let me just see. Yeah, I guess I'm in my 20s now. Like I said, I was writing about this as well. It's not on the internet anymore. Like I've hidden it, but if anybody asks, I can send you a private link. Like my blog from back then is still online, and like writing about those nights, I go back and look at it every so often, and the kind of the excitement and the naivety is something that I do mourn a little bit. Obviously that's just a fact of life, but I wish I could access some of that, like just wide-eyed innocence and just like fascination with what I was hearing and the interactions I was having with people in the club. And I wish everybody could have that sort of relationship with clubbing. I know that most people don't, but I think it's a real like privilege for those of us that do, because it gives so much.
Yeah.
Let me see what's further down. Oh yeah. You asked about disco earlier.
Yes.
Well, we mentioned disco anyway. Yeah, I did want to just talk about that, because I started going to a night called Horsemeat Disco in London, which would happen at the Eagle in Vauxhall. I think Horsemeat Disco has now been running for at least 15 years. It might even be approaching 20 years. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's still going every Sunday. I mean, it helps that there's 4 of them, so they can kind of take turns.
Yeah. And the compilation albums are very good.
Yeah, I mean, it's become like this international like thing, right? And they're just kind of jet setting. But the OG, you can't really beat the OG like Sunday night. I don't know how much it costs now, but at the time it was £6 to go in. And that, I would say, was also really big influence on me. And it's funny that I was kind of discovering disco at the same time as I was really getting into DJing, and I was reading about Larry Levan. I got obsessed with the Paradise Garage. First time I went to New York was to visit my sister in 2013 maybe, and I went on a pilgrimage to see the old building, which I think has been demolished now, and it had been turned into a Verizon like office. And there were these, there are these amazing resources online. I just feel like this has been lost a little bit. There's so much online nowadays, but back then you would just find this random website that would have a really long article about the history of the Paradise Garage, and then underneath there would be 500 comments. Not like YouTube comments, which are really shit, but like people who are saying, "Oh, I went to the Paradise Garage, and these are the tracks that I remember. This is something that happened." Proper stories. And that again was just this amazing like new vista opening into disco. And if I'm like challenged, I would say that disco is probably my favorite music. Like if I had to pick, I would pick the 80s, like early 80s kind of disco into Italo disco. Like that era is my favorite era. And I just wanted to play, because for me it's so iconic, the opening part of Bourgie Bourgie by Ashford and Simpson, because that is the first track that's on. There's like this Larry Levan Journey into Paradise mix CD, and yeah, it just kind of makes me think of that era.
Yeah, let's have a listen. Yeah, when you hear this track as the beginning of something, you know you're up for a good time. So the rest of the what was it, a compilation or like?
It's called Journey into Paradise, Larry Levan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look that up. Yeah.
Yeah, and like most of the tracks from that compilation, again, I bought the records over the years when I see them in secondhand shops, and I play them. Part of my like DJ, like what I try to do when I'm DJing is to be able to mix in disco with house music and techno and electro and pop music and make it make sense. Like make it not so much of a novelty thing, but it's like these different genres have connections. They have historical connections. They have references between them, and musical connections. So there should be a way of combining them that people don't think of as just wedding music.
Yeah. No, it's doable, but it's a challenge. It's an art, I would say.
That's what I probably spend most of my time trying to do.
Giles Peterson comes to mind with like the different directions that it's coming from. Who's playing in Lisbon in 2 weeks?
7th of March.
Right.
Yes.
Parallel Festival. Get your ticket.
Parallel Festival. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to be here, but
Seamus
that looks really good. Yeah,
We're gonna be there.
nice.
Shouting. Giles Peterson.
Nice.
You want to say something about the Welt Disco?
Oh yeah, completely forgot about that.
You have a record label as well.
Yeah, so I ran this label called Welt, and I brought this CD with me. So when I showed the Ricardo and the Richie Horton CDs earlier, these mix CDs, these were the inspiration for a release that I did last year on the label, which is this one. Which is called In the Pocket, and it's the sound of Welt Discos. Basically, this is the 10th release on the label. I had done 9 vinyl releases, and so for the 10th release, I decided to do a mix CD because it's a format that's so like close to my heart.
And it's a double, right?
It's a single CD.
You don't have the mix.
It's the mix CD. Yeah, and if you buy the CD on Bandcamp, then you get the individual tracks
Okay,
as digital.
And these are all your friends?
And they're all my friends.
Nice.
These are all people that I met over the past. Well, I mean, so I mentioned Gwennon earlier. She did a track for it. I've known her for 23 years. Then there are people who I've met in the last 5 years. There are people I met last year. It's just a real like. Yeah, it was a way of just kind of telling, again, my own story and putting it into something like it's the first thing I contributed to my label musically because I mixed it together. And I enjoyed it so much that I'm going to do another one.
Nice.
I'm working on this year.
I've been listening to like going through it and like to get a feel for what the label sounds like. And
Nice.
Yeah, very cool stuff.
Did you get a good answer? Because
I mean, it's, the answer is like high quality all over the place. Minimal.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
A bit minimalistic, and also not everyone,
Right.
every track.
you hit the nail on the head. That's
No?
the idea is that there isn't. What I try is that there isn't an answer.
Yeah, right.
So there's like some UK garage on here.
But it's quality. I mean, it's connected by quality, and
Thanks.
I would say
That's the goal. Yeah.
I'm just itching to ask you this question about because you've got so many different genres that you cover, and you still play across many different genres. It's not like you transition from one to the other. It's like you keep the best of all. Like, what's your system for keeping track of all of that?
Question.
It's difficult, I guess. I have
You have 2.5 minutes.
yeah, well, I mean, at home I have my record collection and that's kind of organized. So I have like the different sections, kind of by genre, more by era, actually. And I know those records really, really well. Digital music is a bit more of a problem. I'm not very organized with that. But when it comes to playing, my system is not particularly sophisticated. Even if I'm playing just digital, I pack a bag for every show. Like I will go through my collection and I will just put stuff in a playlist and that's what I take. For like moving between genres, I think, yeah, to big myself up, that's what I've spent the last 20 years of like learning to do this, like perfecting. And I think I've got to a place where I can do it really well now. That's not to say there won't still be moments where the energy goes a bit weird or whatever, but that's part of the fun.
Yeah, and it's also like in your head. Like
It's also more in my head than it is.
That's like not to downplay it or anything.
sure,
but,
yeah.
Like, people have no idea.
But what I wanted to do with the CD especially was to demonstrate that you can have all of this, but because of the way that I DJ, it can make sense. And I hope that when people listen to it, even if they weren't necessarily into all these different kinds of music before they listened, after they listen, they're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I do actually like some UK garage, or maybe I do like an Italo cover of Alia or whatever. Like it's possible.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
and yeah, I just to shout out also one of the artists on this compilation, Billy Jack. I'm going to put out an EP by them hopefully in the next 6 weeks or so. I'm just working on it. This the EP is his music, and then his brother is doing the artwork. And then we're also going to do a limited edition jigsaw puzzle of the artwork.
Nice.
So any puzzlers
Branching
out there,
How
yeah,
many pieces?
1,000.
Oh, good, yeah. Minimum.
Sweet. Nice.
Should we play just one more thing to finish?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, and when are you playing next in Lisbon as well?
In Lisbon, I don't actually have anything planned, so hit me up.
Oh, that's clear.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for being on the show.
This last one's for Sajni, because she asked for some garage.
Craig David all over you. DJ, it's all up to you. When the crowd go wild, tell me what you gonna do. Wine.